Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Let me quickly introduce us. My name is Balaji and joining me today is Gautam. Both of us are part of the Zoho Writer team. We also have Vignesh with us who will be handling the Q&A session. Let me start with a simple question. When your team sends 50 documents, 500 documents or even 5,000 documents, where does it usually break first? Is it the template, the data, the approval step or the follow-up? Because at small volume, manual document creation feels manageable. But at scale, the cracks show up fast. Names get misspelled, numbers get copied into the wrong field, old versions keep circulating, and someone always ends up chasing approvals or checking whether the right file was signed. And that's the real problem we are looking at today. It's not just about creating a document once, it's about making the whole process repeatable and reliable. That's where merge templates come in. Instead of treating document creation as a one-off task, you turn it into a workflow where template plus data plus approval plus signature plus tracking comes into place. So by the end of today's session, you'll walk away with three things. First, you'll understand how to eliminate repetitive manual work involved in creating and managing documents at scale. Second, you'll see how to build complete document workflows from collection and document generation to approvals, signatures, and distribution without writing code. And finally, you'll understand how to extend those workflows to fit your own business processes using integrations, automation, and business logic. And as we go through this, we'll keep it practical. We'll show you where things live in the UI and walk through basic steps so you can actually imagine setting this up for your own teams. Some basic housekeeping here. We run these sessions on the second Thursday of every month. And just so you know, we record every session and everyone who registered will get the recording in their inbox afterward. Drop your questions in the Q&A pane at any point and Vignesh will be answering them as we go.
Thank you for that introduction, Balaji. And let me quickly walk you through the plan for the next 30 to 45 minutes. First, we'll start with document creation and template management. This is about stopping the start from scratch habit and moving to shared branded templates. Then we'll get into dynamic data binding, where your templates pull live data from CRM, CSVs, forms, and APIs. After that, we'll look at smart document assembly and conditional logic. One intelligent template that adapts to your deal size, geography, and customer type. Then we'll discuss workflow orchestration without code. That is, how business users can build multi-document flows visually. From there, automated e-sign and approval workflows, where you'll be using Zoho Sign and DocuSign in order to collect digital signatures. Then comes distribution and post-processing automation, where you can decide what happens after a document is generated, like exporting, protecting, combining, storing, and distributing the documents easily. We'll then touch on global operation readiness, where you can make your documents adapt to local currencies, date formats, and languages. Then integration flexibility and extensibility, where we connect all this to your existing stack. And finally, a few recent enhancements that makes the document automation even smarter.
All right. Here's the problem we see constantly. In most organizations, there's no real template library. So people just reuse the last document they can find. Someone needs a contract, they ask a colleague to send over the contract, they did for another client and they get a file. They strip out the old details and they reuse it. And every time that happens, the document drifts a little. A clause from the old client stays, a font changes, and an outdated logo snakes through. The real problem here is that there is no single trusted template library and no easy way to make sure everyone starts from the right structure every single time. So the question we want to answer in this specific section is, how can I create and manage branded, reusable document templates that my entire team starts from, eliminating repetitive drafting and keeping everything consistent?
Well, the answer to this is to stop treating documents as files people pass around and start treating them as templates people draw from. So in Zoho Writer, you can create organization-wide templates for contracts, invoices, letters, and more. And you can easily share them with specific teams or even your entire organization. So you don't even have to start from scratch. Admins can take any existing docx or even a PDF file, just open it in Zoho Writer and then save it as an org template so that the same structure can be reused safely across your organization. So instead of starting from a blank document, your team just picks from your organization templates that the admin has created for organization or team-wide reuse. And the best part is you can make any changes you want and the template gets updated centrally so that all your team members doesn't have to worry about changing or fixing anything.
Wonderfully put, Gautam. And once the template is done, the next step is to fill it with data. This is the part where the manual copying completely disappears with Zoho Writer. Here's the problem. Your data lives somewhere your customer details are in your CRM. Your invoice line items are in your accounting system, and your form responses are sitting in a spreadsheet. So the ideal question here is, how can I automatically pull and merge data from multiple sources like CRM, CSV, forms, APIs into my templates so each document is uniquely customized for each and every recipient?
Well, Zoho Writer lets you connect templates to a data source. So we have support for data sources like CRM or other Zoho applications, CSV or Excel sheets, Zoho forms, or custom APIs using DRE. You then decide which field goes where, and from then on, the document fills itself. And it's not just text, you can also merge images, tables, and repeating sections too. So let me quickly show you how you can create a template and then connect a data source according to your preference. So let me go to the writer's dashboard. So this is the writer's landing page where you can find all the documents that you have created. And all you have to do is just click on create new. And in here, you can go to the merge template. And now that's where it gets interesting. You'll get two options. You can either create from scratch, or if you have an existing PDF or a docx file, you can simply upload it. So in this case, if you'd like to design over a PDF, you can choose this option, upload a PDF, and that will act as a powerful merge template. So let me quickly click on design from scratch. And now, as you can see, a merge template will be created, and all I have to do is connect it with a data source. And these are the options that we have. So we have got CSV, Zoho Sheet, Creator, CRM, and all these applications. And if you prefer any custom application, you can make use of custom source. So using APIs, you'll be able to push data into the document, and all the fields available in your custom data source will be listed in the right panel, and it will simply act as a normal merge template in Writer.
So after you have set this up once, generating a new batch of documents is basically just pick the data, run the merge.
Yes, that is exactly correct, Balaji. So, all right. The next section would be assembly and conditional logic. So here's the challenge. One template rarely fits everyone. So let's say a contract for a customer in India might need a different legal language than one of the customer in Germany. A deal over a certain size might need an extra approval clause. So let's say an enterprise customer gets a section, whereas a small time business customer doesn't have that section. So what do most teams do? They keep on creating templates with multiple versions and new templates like contract India, contract Germany, contract enterprise, etc. And now The end process would be that they'll be maintaining 10 templates that are 80% identical. And whenever a clause changes, you have to remember to update those changes in all the documents. So this process isn't just messy, it's prone to mistakes. So the question is, how can I build intelligent templates that shows or hide contents based on business rules, ensuring different clauses, terms, and sections appear only when it is relevant?
That's a good question, Gautam. And the answer here is conditional logic. Instead of creating multiple templates, you can create one smart template that adapts based on the incoming merge data. For example, suppose you're generating candidate communication after recruitment drive. If the candidate status in your merge data is selected, the template automatically displays the offer letter with details like designation, joining date, and compensation. And if the status is rejected, the same template hides the offer details and instead displays a personalized rejection message. So you're maintaining just one template while each recipient automatically receives the right document based on their data. And it doesn't end there. So far, we've looked at conditions that control smaller portions of content within a document. But what if you need to show or hide an entire section instead? That's where section level conditions come in. Instead of applying conditions line by line, you can apply them to a complete section of your document. Whether it's an entire offer detail section, a policy page, or a legal clause, the whole section can appear or disappear based on your merge data. To give you a better idea of how this works, I'll play a quick demo that shows section level conditions in action. This one right here is a property selling proposal with merge fields mapped from our data source. As you can see, the document has two separate sections here, residential and commercial property insights. A residential client shouldn't see commercial content and vice versa. To achieve this, as you can see, we are configuring section level conditions where we apply condition to the field property type and type commercial or residential as the value accordingly. So that's what you saw in action. So this way, the commercial section shows only the property type is commercial and the residential one only for residential. That's conditional sections where one template generates personalized output for every record.
Right, so let's now move on to workflow orchestration without code and see how we chain all of this together.
In real life, documents rarely live alone. A closed one deal might kick off a proposal, then a contract, then an onboarding pack. A new employee might need an offer letter, a policy acknowledgement, and a tax form. If each of those steps is triggered manually, you get delays, missteps, and a lot of follow-up. The question we are answering here is, as a business user, how can I build and automate complex multi-document workflows without writing code, combining multiple templates, applying business logic, and defining execution sequence?
Well, Balaji, if you have used tools like Microsoft Power Automate, you'll already be familiar with the idea of building workflows visually. Zoho Writer brings a similar no-code experience, but it's purpose-built for document automation. Using Writer's Workflow Builder, you can visually assemble document workflows by connecting multiple templates, linking them to data source, defining the order in which they execute, and applying business rules along the way. You start by choosing a trigger. It could be a manual trigger, a scheduled trigger, or even an external event. From there, you simply drag and drop action cards into the canvas. For example, you might add a merge action for your contract template, connect it to a data source, and map your merge fields. Then you can add multiple templates, insert route or condition cards to handle different business scenarios, and finally configure what should happen when each document is generated. And what I like the most is how easy it is to evolve the workflow, So let's say if tomorrow your process changes and you decide another document needs to be generated after a contract is signed, you don't have to rebuild everything. You simply update the workflow visually. So let me quickly show you how you can build an automation and how the output looks like. So for this, let me take an example where, let's say I've got multiple customers like partners, SME, enterprise customer, etc. So I have got this webinar agreement. So this is a service agreement, and in here I have this for an enterprise customer. So let's say I have each templates for different type of customer because no one customer is the same. So for the enterprise customer, I need this document to be generated. Whereas for a partner or for an SME, I would require a different type of template. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the right pane, and here you'll have an option called Setup Advanced Merge. And that will open up our visual builder, which is for the automation. And you can configure all the type of automations within this builder. And in this canvas, as you can see, I have chosen manual on trigger. So I'll be the one who's going to trigger the merge operation. And not only that, I've added a filter card. So based on the type, the customer's type in my data source, I'll be routing those data to the appropriate templates. So now, as you can see, I have configured certain rules. So here I have selected the customer type as enterprise. And similarly, I have added another rule called SME. And the next one is one-time customer. And finally, I have partner. So for this, I have configured each different template for each customer type. So here, as you can see, this is an SME service agreement, and here this is an enterprise customer agreement, and here I've got a partner service agreement. And finally, if required, I can also send this document for sign, this document to be stored, this document to be sent via email, etc. So I'll also have the ability to configure unique outputs for each type of customers. So in this case, I'm just going to send this via email. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly get into a CRM custom module called customers. So in here, I have two customers. So I'm just going to take these two as an example. And as you can see, the first one is an enterprise customer and the second one is a partner. So the customer type is partner. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate documents for these two customers, and I'm going to click on mail merge. And in here, I'm going to choose the template and click on merge. And once the merge template opens up, all I'm going to do is just go to run merge and go ahead and run the merge. So we'll just show you a quick overview of the configuration that has been done. And you can simply check that in the right panel, and you'll be able to see what is the template configuration, and click on run merge. So now what will happen is I'll be getting two different templates or two different documents. So the one would be enterprise service agreement and the other one would be partner, because that's the one that I've selected in Zoho CRM. So let me click on view logs. And as you can see, yes, the merge has been initiated and it's currently in progress. And during this time, you'll have the ability to check what exactly the status of the process is. So let me click on the first customer, who is an enterprise. And in here, you can see that the merge operation has been initiated and it went to the filter card and it has been filtered. And based on the filter, it has created a document called enterprise customer agreement, as you can see on the right panel. And similarly, let me go to the second record. Now, as you can see, the filtered data has moved to partner because the customer that I've selected is a partner. And based on that, a partner service agreement is selected. And not only that, you can see that the merge operation for this particular this particular workflow is completed, and it's currently in progress to send the email. So once the email is sent, it will be fully completed. So this is how easy it is for you to build a customized workflow according to your business process using the automation builder in Zoho Writer.
And importantly, you're doing all of this visually. You're not asking a developer to hard code every small change. You're just adjusting cards on the canvas. Now, a big part of any workflow is approvals and signatures. That's often where everything queues up. So let's move into that next. If the documents sit in someone's inbox waiting for sign off, or different teams use different e sign tools, you eventually lose visibility into where signing is pending. The question we're tackling here is, how can someone integrate multiple e-sign providers like DocuSign and Zoho Sign and automatically route documents for signatures with signers added or removed based on the business rules?
Well, just like with templates, the idea here is to define your signing rules once and then let them run in the background. With Zoho Writer, you can send documents for signature through Zoho Sign or DocuSign depending on how your team is set up. So with the Zoho Sign native integration, you can configure signer roles, signing order, and post signature actions as a part of the same workflow configuration. And with our DocuSign integration, you can send those documents out through DocuSign for sign collection. So this is useful if your team is already using DocuSign. So while you use DocuSign for sign collection, you will be using Writer for creating and managing the document within Zoho Writer. So let me quickly show you where you can find these options. So for that, I'll just jump on this template. And here, as you can see on the right panel, we use merge and send for sign collection. Whereas now you have an additional option where you'll be able to choose DocuSign, sign into your DocuSign account, and then use that for sign collection. So this is actually a feature that we are in the final testing phase, and you can expect this to be released within this week or the beginning of the next week.
Next, distribution and post-processing automation comes in. In many organizations, document generation feels like a finish line. In reality, it's the start of downstream work, exporting to PDF, applying passwords, combining multiple documents, emailing to stakeholders, and saving copies in different systems. If all of that is manual, you're barely saving time even with automation. So the question here is that, how can someone automate what happens after document generation, including export formats, protection, combining multiple PDFs, and distribution to the right channels?
Well, once your document is generated, the next step is deciding what should happen to it. With Zoho Writer, you don't have to perform those tasks manually every single time. You simply configure them once as part of your merge settings. So the first thing is you decide is the output format. Depending on your business process, you can generate a Writer document, a Microsoft Word document, a standard PDF, a password protected PDF, a fillable PDF, or even a fillable form. So once you have chosen the output format, you decide what happens next. You can save the merged document as a new file, store it automatically in your preferred location, email it to recipients, send it for signature collection or approval, and even invoke a custom function, or there is also an option for you to share it as a fillable form. So all of these become part of the same automated workflow. So for example, an HR team generates 100 offer letters, automatically converts them into password protected PDFs, send it to their candidates for signature, and store the signed copies in the appropriate folder. All this happens without any manual handling for each document. Or even, let's take a finance team. So they can generate recurring invoices, email them to their customers, and then store them automatically, all within a single flow.
Thanks for addressing that, Gautam. Now, everything we've described so far is powerful even if you operate in a single country. But many of you are dealing with multi-region, multi-currency operations. So let's talk about global operations readiness. Global organizations often have to deal with different currencies, date formats, number formats, and even languages. If someone has to manually tweak the currency symbol or rewrite a clause every time you send a document to another region, you'll never really be able to scale document automation. So the question is, how can I ensure documents automatically adapt to local requirements like currency, date formats, variations for seamless global operations?
Well, the good news is a lot of this is actually just an extension of what we have already seen: data binding and conditional logic. You'll be using field level formatting to handle currencies and dates, and content level conditions to handle languages and clauses. So let's say you want to create a simple global invoice template using Writer's merge templates. The result is a single robust template that automatically behaves differently for a US customer, an Indian customer, and a German customer without someone manually editing the currency symbols or even the languages of each clauses each time. So let me show you how you'll have the ability to change your locale and choose the required format according to your preference. So let me quickly jump to the document, and in here you'll have the option called settings on the top right corner. You can simply click on it and go to more settings, under which you'll find the tab language and region. And in here, you'll have the ability to select the required locale, and based on that, the date format, currency format, and the number format will be automatically changed. So let me just quickly show you that. I'm selecting United States English, and as you can see, the currency, the number format, and date and time is being automatically updated according to the locale that I've chosen. And not only that, you'll also have the ability to further customize the date format according to your own preference.
So users handling multiple customers from multiple regions would really love that. And once you're operating at that scale, the last piece is making sure the system plays nicely with rest of your stack. So this includes your custom applications, your external data sources, and your business logic. So that's where integration flexibility and extensibility comes in. Every organization has that one system or several systems that are unique to them: an in-house application, a specific database, or a custom workflow engine. If document automation can't talk to those systems, it quickly becomes a partial solution. So the question here would be, how can I extend document automation to integrate with my custom applications, invoke business logic, and fetch data from any source?
Well, Writer's automation platform gives you a few building blocks for this. First, data retrieval extensions, and we call that as DRE. So this lets you fetch data from a custom source that isn't one of the built-in connectors. So you can configure where the data comes from, and now those fields are available to you in the merge document just like CRM fields were. So your in-house system becomes a first-class data source. Next, custom functions. Inside a workflow, you can invoke a custom function, a bit of business logic that does something specific, like attaching a signed document back into a particular CRM record. So this logic runs a part of the workflow itself. And finally, webhook triggers. This means an external event such as a form submission or a field update in CRM or spreadsheet, which is something happening in another application entirely, can trigger document generation in Zoho Writer. So when your custom app triggers an event, Writer will catch it and automatically merge and generate a document correctly in the response. So let me show you where you'll have these options to make use of these. So in Writer, as we already saw, you can select custom data source. So using which you'll be using APIs in order to push data into Zoho Writer. And when we talk about triggers, we have various triggers. So you can make use of manual trigger, or you can make use of scheduled trigger. So you can schedule a time and date, and you'll be able to merge documents accordingly. So you'll not need a manual trigger in order to if you're gonna schedule it. And similarly, if you're using Zoho Forms as your data source, you can easily create documents whenever a form submission happens in Zoho Forms. And finally, we have incoming webhooks. So this will allow you to use webhook URLs as a trigger. So let's say in your custom application, there is an event that has been triggered. You will be able to use that event as a trigger for document generation in Zoho Writer. So these are the options using which you'll be able to trigger merge in Writer, and you'll be able to generate documents easily. And one more, we also have merge and invoke custom function. So we have got an option called merge and invoke custom function, and when you click on it, you'll be able to use deluge functions and extend the automation according to your preference. So we also have a predefined gallery where you can see various functions are available. So let's say you want to attach the merged document back to a particular CRM record. All you have to do is just click on use for attached to Zoho CRM, and then follow the instructions on the first lines, and you'll be able to configure an automation so that the merge will happen and the merged document will be attached to the CRM record automatically. So Writer is a strong automation layer that plugs into everything else, and as your processes evolve, you can strengthen both sides, sometimes adding more conditions in templates, sometimes expanding what your extensions and webhooks do.
That was lovely put, Gautam. Now, we want to highlight a few recent enhancements that push this even further. There are 3 enhancements we want to call out because they show where document automation is headed. First up, we have AI-powered formula assistance. If you have ever worked with merge fields that need calculations, totals, prorated amounts, conditional values, writing those expressions can get fiddly. Now, you can describe what you want in plain language. And Zia, Writer's AI assistant, helps you build the formula, so the power of dynamic calculations is open to people who aren't formula experts. Second, collecting payments through merge emails. When you send a document like an invoice through a merge, you can now include a way for the recipient to pay right from the generated email. So the document and payment aren't 2 disconnected steps anymore. Collecting what you owed becomes part of sending the document. And finally, the third one, generating a personalized document for every subform record automatically. Here's the idea. Writer generates a separate personalized document for every subform record, each with its own e-signature process. So instead of one document covering 5 people, you get 5 accurate individual documents generated in a single step. What I like about all 3 is that they're not separate features bolted on. They each make one of the things we showed to today smoother. And I would not like to stop with just a poll or with the information that we fed you in today. So I want to know that we have covered a lot. So let's just zoom out. We'll have a quick recap now. We started with template management, making sure your documents don't start from scratch or from random old files. Then we layered on dynamic data binding, so templates pull clean, structure data from CRM, CSVs, forms, and custom sources. And on top of that, we added smart document assembly and conditional logic. So one template can adapt to different deal sizes, geographies, and customer types. And after that, we stepped into workflow orchestration without code, showing how business users can visually design end-to-end flows. And then we looked at automated e-sign and approval workflows, integrating Zoho Sign and connecting to other tools wherever needed. And we explored distribution and post-processing automation, so formatting, protection, combining, storing, and emailing are part of the same flow, not separate chores. Finally, we touched on global operations, which is indeed global operations readiness, and integration flexibility, which help you operate across regions and connect your custom stack or your custom applications. Before we move into the Q&A, I like to leave you with one final thought. When people first hear about Zoho Writer's merge capabilities, it's easy to think of it as another mail merge solution. But hopefully, today's session has shown that it's much more than that. Traditional mail merge tools usually stop at generating a document from a template and a data source, but Zoho Writer goes much further. It combines flexible data sources, intelligent templates, no-code workflow, automated approvals and signatures, output and storage automation, and seamless integrations with your existing business systems. So instead of simply generating documents, you're automating the entire document lifecycle from creation to delivery and everything in between. That's what makes Zoho Writer a complete document workflow automation platform and not just another mail merge tool. So that was a great session, Gautam, and it was a lovely audience today as well. We'll meet you in our next webinar. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.